Hello, Electroheads. Today, myself and also we have Mark from Personal Electric Transport, who is a e-scooter advocate and of course our expert who I'm sure you've seen on the channel. We also have here Michael Quintana, who is the head of comms and government policy for Ridables. So we have some great people here. And what we're going to do is we're going to be responding to your comments that you have been writing underneath a few of our electric scooter videos. Now, if anybody isn't aware of what's going on, we have launched a campaign which is to fight for justice for electric scooter riders who have been stopped whilst riding their scooter on public roads and who have got fines and points on their license. So the first one we have here, Edward Tilley. This close to unsubscribing because I don't care that people are getting tickets for breaking a fairly meaningless law. Bicycles are safe electric alternatives. Championing the wrong things is a tiresome theme in our society, I think. Michael, what do you think?
I think it's a matter of perception. You know, when you see an adult on any scooter, even a kick scooters, there's a wide range of people who will say, "Oh, that's ridiculous. Why are you on a kid's toy?" So that, I think, just transposes onto this whole issue with electric scooters, and the point too that this guy's making, unfortunately to me, doesn't hold a lot of water, because when you believe in something, the whole point is when you believe in something, you back it, you stand for it, you fight for it, especially if it's something that's not inherently wrong. And there's nothing morally or inherently wrong with electric scooters. So this guy's saying that, well, you know, it's a dead point, you know, it's illegal, why fight for it? There's a lot of things that are illegal at one point. Yeah, I mean, we could go way back into civil rights, all the way to the little things, first world problems that we have now. And electric scooters are one of those things that we believe in, you know, and have every right to fight for it. And, you know, it's also something that works in other countries. So we've seen examples of this operating successfully.
I just want to quickly throw in for anybody watching, if you haven't seen the Electric Scooter Defence Fund campaign, there is a link in the description below, so make sure to click on it and you can find out all the information there. And if you would like to pledge some money, that would be fantastic, because we have a big target to hit. So the next one that I will go to actually is a really, really good comment that came in from a guy called KL. He says, I feel like the wording should change so it's not just e-scooters. I've been riding an EUC for the last 3 years, and although I've never had issues with police, I'd like to make sure our community is included. I think that's a really good point, actually. And Michael, I know that you're a big EUC rider and you represent Ridables. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point. I think, and this guy's point speaks directly to my heart, because, you know, in reality, yeah, we want all or many micro mobility devices. You know, we want a lot of these things legalized. My way of sleeping with it at night, I think, is that e-scooters are the main form that people see, and it's kind of the poster child. So if we can push that through and get people to accept and understand that just because it's electric, just because it moves without a person's foot, you know, hitting a pedal, isn't you know, isn't evil. And once we can get that through and get people to understand that, I think a lot of these other devices can follow suit. It opens the door. It's a bit like a gateway drug, right? We get one in and then we can start addressing the wider opportunities.
Well, e-scooters have been hugely successful all over the planet, simply because they're probably the most cost-effective PLEV available, with probably the shallowest learning curve. We all rode scooters when we were children, and it really is that easy to sort of step onto it, push a button, and suddenly you're traveling at 15 miles an hour. Look at the comment under it. It goes, oh, I actually don't care. I just don't like lazy people. It's not really up to you to kind of decide, you know, whether someone pedals or not, you know, and how active somebody is. I mean, shut your beak, basically. It's like, it's not up to you.
Yeah, he says, I don't care at all. I just don't like lazy people. The fact that he has this perception of that being a lazy form of transport, when I'm sure you can ask that fellow, how do you get to work? If you're working, how are you getting to work? I'm sure you're not walking to work. I'm sure you don't live down the street. I'm sure you're taking a car to get where you need to, or other forms of, you know, motorized transport. There's a very classist element to society here sometimes, and I think the e-scooter debate really brings that up, you know, because you are seeing certain people who ride it, or people's perception of certain people who ride it, you know, whether you call them yobs, you know, or any other derogatory name. And that's what people are kind of equating. And the reason we're seeing people like that is because it's accessible, which is the whole point of the success of the device. Is anybody off the street, whether you have no money or a lot of money, everybody could get it, and it's a valid means of getting around.
I think the argument that people are lazy for riding electric scooters is completely redundant. I think it's ridiculous because when you think about it, like you say, there's active travel and there's non-active travel. Like 95% of people right now are choosing to do non-active travel in their cars. So what is the difference with then going on an electric scooter?
To say there's no exercise is completely wrong. It's about the same as a light stroll for the same amount of time. If you ride a scooter for half an hour, it's a pretty much equivalent as strolling through the park for half an hour.
Next one I want to come on to is a very plain and simple one that needs to be addressed. Jiminori said, it's illegal. He got caught. People know it's illegal. If you're okay with this law being broken, what next? Stealing, drink driving. You can't have it one way and not the other. Mark.
We do have sympathy with the idea that society is structured. It's structured by laws, and generally things do break down if people completely disobey the law. However, in this particular case, there wasn't actually laws that were passed specifically about e-scooters. What's happened is that we've got new technologies been introduced into the landscape, and everybody's kind of gone, oh my God, we don't know what to do. And then there's a reaction. Now the reaction and how the DFT and the police are dealing with this is the thing that we have issue with. So we're not advocating breaking the law per se. We're basically saying that what this needs is bespoke regulation designed to cover the use of PLEVs, and we need it yesterday. It's been 9 years since scooters were first seen around. It's just too long. Technology is moving faster than that. Cities and towns are moving faster than that. And people have voted with their feet. And we've now got thousands of these things on the street because people are like, well, where's the harm? We don't see it. It's not that we're advocating lawlessness. We're essentially saying that we want laws that are fit for purpose. And in the meantime, let's focus the police on targeting antisocial and dangerous behavior. Let's not have them having a blanket ban of anybody on a scooter, which seems craziness to us.
And that's the whole point. The whole reason we're doing this is just to make a song and dance and just tell the government just to hurry up, because people are getting frustrated that we're sort of apparently moaning and complaining when what we're trying to do is just raise awareness about how ridiculous this all is and that things need to change.
I had the chance to ride my electric unicycle through the House of Lords. And I thought I was going to get it. Because actually a lot of people, they asked me to ride it. They said, oh, let's ride it, let's see it. And they loved it. People were like, oh, this is fantastic. But the people making decisions, like I said, often aren't even users.
Lance Wild says, loads of them where I live, little drug mules in hoodies whizzing around with impunity. Deliveroo for your beer. It's
perception here. And it's e-scooters today. Yesterday, it was people wearing hoodies with the JD Sports bag on a string. It's footballers. It's a class issue. See a car, matter of fact, this happened recently. Car drove through something like 19 people and killed or severely injured quite a few of them. Drove through on purpose. It was an act of violence. Page 13, I think, of the Metro of that day. Page 1, e-scooter, an accident where someone was hurt, but not permanently injured. Page 1, it's perception. Yeah, and I think that's more, like I said, more of the battle that we're fighting, more than the education side of things.
Whilst we're in a situation where these things aren't covered by any regulation, and there are all sorts of threats to people who can afford to get taxis or own a private car or other forms of transport, they're going to gravitate towards those and not use efficient PLEVs. So you're going to find that a lot of people on scooters, to a certain extent, are from a poorer demographic, and this is where it becomes discriminatory.
There is a demographic of people, my people, Black, brown, people of color, people who don't have a lot of money. There's a whole range of people in this socioeconomic bubble who. This is a godsend, because now when you're working night shifts and you're working late, all of a sudden, instead of having to deal with safety issues, trying to catch a bus at night, or buses don't exist, or they're few and far between, you have control of your own destiny. You can literally pop the thing open, jump on it and go. and it's opened up the world for a lot of people, you know, getting home, getting to where they need to be at night, after work, during the day. And I think that's one of the key issues that that a lot of people sort of glaze over a little bit, you know, is the fact that it's the accessibility of these devices for people. You know, 300 pounds is a lot of money, but it's not when you're looking at the long-term opportunities.
Public transport is pretty expensive. It's pretty unreliable. Not everybody has the money to buy a car. Not everybody has the space to keep a car. Electric scooters are a perfect fix for that. Okay, next one. My biggest concern is for the elderly, the infirm, and the disabled. Many are out and about maintaining their independence by walking to the local shops, meeting people, maybe going to a cafe to meet somebody. We already have adult children riding bikes on the pavements completely unfettered by any sort of policing. Making electric scooters legal will ensure our pavements will be infested with them. A carnage will ensue. It really frustrates me that so many people think that we are here trying to promote like unruly, unregulated riding on pavements, knocking elderly over. I like the disabled. Oh my God, that is so far from the point that we are trying to make here. The whole point is we want people to get on these electric scooters, wear high vis, wear helmets, be able to indicate, you know, have indicators, like be seen, riding these on the roads properly, safely. The thought of electric scooters on the pavements, it's not safe, it's not sensible. We don't want people getting hurt, we don't want people getting hit.
That's absolutely the point. And the madness at the moment is we have policemen out there, rather than focusing their efforts on making sure that people aren't being antisocial on scooters or making sure they're riding safely and penalizing people who don't, they're penalizing everybody. And you get this crazy situation where you'll get 6 cops stopping a young lady on her way to work who's wearing a crash helmet, who was in a cycle lane doing everything right. And that's the reality of what's happening on the streets right now. And one of the reasons, which I keep on pointing out, is it's still harder for the police to make a prosecution stick if someone's riding on the pavement than if they're riding on the cycle lane or the road.
Exactly. One of the big
points, which is insane. So, I mean, we're just after a little bit of common sense here until we're at the point where we're comfortable that we've got a set of regs that are going to work for everybody. But in the meantime, please, please, please understand we're absolutely not advocating anyone ride scooters at speed on the pavement. It's a crazy idea.
And also, you know, you have to question again why people are on the pavements in the first place, because there are too many cars, there are too many sort of bigger vehicles on the roads currently that people are choosing to drive, that, you know, we need to reduce, because we've got this whole other situation going on, which is the climate crisis, and electric scooters are a perfect answer for that, as well as, you know, bikes and e-bikes and EUCs and all the other kind of PLEVs that are available. So
well, that's a good point. Here. Pedestrians, especially the old and infirm and partially sighted, do not mix well with bicycles and e-scooters. And they need to be separated, but it's going to take investment. You can't have politicians in shiny suits kind of like get up on their parapet and say, oh yes, 2035, we absolutely support 2035, we're totally into carbon neutral by 2050, but they won't do the work. And it needs people to sit down and try and figure out how we're going to do this. How do we separate pedestrians from micromobility, which is bicycles, even, you know, mopeds, etc., and heavier vehicles such as cars, vans, minibuses, buses?
We see the numbers, you know, it's just this big dam waiting to burst. And the minute it's legal, I think we're going to see a natural shift as a consequence of being made, you know, technically being made legal. Because all of a sudden, people who are in public transport or, you know, who are in their cars will now be free to ride. And the idea is maybe enough people will be micromobility users that they won't be taking cars. And so we'll see that shift of cars off the road and more micromobility users, you know, so then there'll be that natural shift in safety, because there's going to be less heavy vehicles on the road. But, you know, we won't see that until, you know, until we can, you know, get these things legalized.
There are a couple of comments that I've seen from supposedly, you know, educated sources that suggest that e-scooters by design are unsafe. And interestingly, there's the Parliamentary Advisory Council for Transport Safety. They call themselves PACS. They've been quite active And basically they're quoting research from Denmark, and they seem to be alleging that scooters are unsafe by design. So I think, we need to address that one. There's a few all over the comments. There's always someone who goes, I'm a scientist and I say that they have small wheels and twitchy steering and da, da, da. And look, I mean, I just want to put this one to bed. So the lines between various forms of lightweight transport are now exceedingly grey. What's the difference between a bicycle an e-bike and a moped? What's the difference between a moped and a scooter? Where does a moped become a motorbike? If it has three wheels, is it still a scooter? The takeaway is it doesn't matter, right? Ultimately, there's a continuum between all of these vehicles, and there's a common denominator. They're lightweight, they're efficient, they're cost effective, they're easy to use. And that's all we need to worry about. Now, whether any particular vehicle is safe or unsafe is down to the quality of design and engineering that goes into it. And there's nothing that can't be worked around. I mean, any engineer who drives cars will look at a Porsche 911 and go, well, it shouldn't work. Hanging the most heavy component out the back of the rear wheel should make the thing unstable, right? But clever Germans, being very clever, have worked for decades to solve the problems. Now you could say, okay, well, small wheels are bad because they're more affected by road imperfections. Again, though, it's dealable with. So you add suspension into the mix and good geometry, and you can cancel a lot of those problems out.
Look at the motor industry, right? 50, 60 years ago, the safety standards and what a vehicle, how a vehicle presented itself, was it safe or not, is completely different than where we are now. When something's legal, you're not saying it's guaranteed. We're not saying, look, put these vehicles on the road, they're 1,000,000,000% safe, nothing will ever happen. But what we're saying is on the balance of probability, they're safe enough, and then the idea is when you legalize something, you create an industry, you create interest in industry. The minute somebody signs on the dotted line and we can use these devices, you can have a whole industry built around safety, around, hey, building, safer e-scooters, building safety equipment, all the things that support that space that we will get. But if you don't legalize it, then people are having to do it on the fringe, and you're not going to see the speed of adoption that you can have once there's a market in place.
I've seen other great brands that are coming through already who are designing scooters, for example, Tour scooters, TAUR, who have some fantastic safety design and features in there that it looks like a proper road scooter, which is what we are all hoping to get now, is get the legislation, get them regulated, and then we're going to get some scooters that are going to be perfect for the roads. Once
you introduce a stable environment, so manufacturers are able to invest because they know that there's a stable set of regs that they can build to, and you're going to see a lot better equipment. Okay, there's the last one, okay, which we need to deal with. All right, so I reckon that these e-scooters will be a passing fad. Anyone remember the same debate with Segways? Okay, it's not a fad. It's just obviously not. They are literally millions. Yeah, thank you. It's just not a fad. The idea of lightweight, sustainable electric personal transport being a fad, it's like saying the mobile phone was a fad or the internet was a fad. It's that deep.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's not a fad. Again, it's perception, but also the difference too with things like the Segway. The Segway was big. It was great. It was big. It was a little bit unwieldy. I remember that was my introduction to Jeremy Clarkson. I met him and he showed me how to ride a Segway. And this is when I first moved to this country. But the thing is that it's a big device. It's big wheels. It's quite a little bit unwieldy for what it is compared to an electric scooter that is small footprint, safe enough. You can take it with you on public transport. And if you look at the numbers and the cost, the numbers of people using it, the cost of the device, there's no way it's going to be a fad. It's too accessible. It's too useful.
It's just too established already, and this is when they're still currently not legal.
Yeah.
So it's just the germ, the seed of the culture of electric scooters that is only going to grow, and we have to take charge and make sure that, you know, legislation is changing as soon as possible, because so many people right now are now like dependent on their electric scooter. They've seen how incredibly like game changing this device can be for them, like any PLEV.
Yeah. It comes down to perception. We're not really fighting a safety issue. We're not really fighting even a climate issue and all that. Obviously, all of that's there. We know it balances out and it's in our favor, but we're really fighting this perception. And when you get into this war of perception, that's when you get into the war of politics and people who have to look at their constituents and say, okay, well, if I'm seen to support e-scooters, how do my constituents feel? Will that put me in a bad light? Will that affect my, you know, election opportunities? For me, that's more what we're fighting. And that's why we need this kind of critical mass of supporters, you know, where people who are playing the politics game can look and say, you know, damn, you know, there's millions of people, millions of votes out there who are voting with their feet for e-scooters. If I don't fall in line with that or support that, those votes may go to other politicians who will. And I think that's ultimately what we're looking at.
So guys, what I'm going to ask you next quickly, the reason why we're here is because we have launched the Electric Scooter Defence Fund campaign to try and help people who have been affected by the draconian laws that are currently in place that are flagging electric scooter riders down, giving them points on their license, giving them fines. Mark, could you just tell me why people should get involved and pledge to the campaign?
Well, why? Because basically the situation is obviously wrong. ESDF is an opportunity for all of us to go, okay, well, look, this is obviously wrong, and this needs to be actually taken up by the whole community through some decent solicitors and through the instruments that are available to us, so basically through the, you know, via judicial review. So it's a great opportunity. We've made a really good start. We just got to push through now.
Michael, can you just quickly give a few words as to why people watching this should be getting involved with the campaign?
Yeah, it's a fantastic campaign. I think, as I was telling Mark from before, when you get these issues this big, you know, it's easy to get fragmented. A lot of voices, but a lot of voices kind of not pointing in the same exact direction or coming from the same source. And what we need is like a united front, you know, and it's a good flag for all of us to unite under. You know, we have a case from the lady that Mark's working with, who represents basically everybody's situation or situation we could easily get into, you know, by we rely on these devices, all of a sudden it's taken off you. Now you're struggling to get into work or struggling to find ways to do the things you need to do. Other causes out there are similar, but this is one I think we should all gravitate towards and say, look, let's make our voice singular and united and cohesive in one place here. And I think it's the way to do it.
Yeah, you're so right. This affects everybody, you know, everybody in the PLEV community and further, really. The current laws aren't allowing for progressive change, and that's something that we need to be fighting towards. And like you have mentioned before, Mark, we need amnesty right now for people to be able to use electric scooters, but use them sensibly. That is the whole point here. We are not advocating riding them on the pavements. We want them to be ridden properly with protection. Make sure that people are visible when doing so as well with high vis, and just get some justice for the people that shouldn't be facing 6 points on their license right now.
The points are so disproportionate. I can't believe that amount. You could drink, drive, and mow 20 people over and get less points than riding an e-scooter in a bike lane with a helmet, high vis, and surrounding yourself in cushioning. You know.
All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. I just want to say thank you everyone for watching. If you haven't already, please do like this video, share it. Share the campaign. The link to the campaign is in the description below. It's really crucial that we can just get this out, get the word out, get as many people as involved as possible, because as Michael and Mark have said, you know, if we can just unite, come together, throw away our potential differences with different PLEVs and see that this is a really important start of something that could change the game completely, then please do get involved and help us out. And for anybody who has been watching as well, who How it feels like their comments have been answered today. Great. Please do comment below again and just let us know how we have completely changed your perspective. That would be great. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Take care. Share this video, like, subscribe. See you soon. Bye.